Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. So today is the day that the Lord has made. So by the title of this video, you guys are all probably freaking out. I just need you to calm down, breathe with me. Let's breathe. I'm not pregnant, don't worry, everything's fine. I just need to talk to you guys about something. I want to talk about purity rings and all things purity today because I'm excited about this topic and I feel like I've learned so much about it. So I'm just gonna start off with the backstory behind my purity ring. So I got my purity ring when I was like 13. My dad took me out. I got to pick out what color I wanted. I actually got a ruby. I think it's super pretty. Can you see it? It's super pretty. It has like little diamonds on the side. Love it. It was like the little like year of age now. Keep your pants on. Basically. So like I said, it was something that my dad did with all. I have two older sisters, so each one of us, like when we turned like 13 or 14, he would take us out and like give us have us pick out our ring and basically so I don't know, knowing my dad, I'm like 100% sure that he did tell me like what this meant, but for some reason like I didn't take it to, not that I didn't take it to heart, but I don't remember it very well. So all of my friends had purity rings growing up. When I was little, you guys, I had the most like holy little circle of friends in the world, and I think that like positive peer pressure is actually a good thing. So like I had my group of best friends growing up. You know who you are if you're watching this video. We like literally lived for like church and like conferences and like worship like nights. Like we were just totally church kids, like 100%, which I actually love. I think it's so precious looking back on my childhood and seeing that was what I got excited about, was like going to church, or like if like a speaker was coming into church, I was like, woo. So I had my little like holy group of like girlfriends, and we all had purity rings, and we all were like pretty serious about purity and just like living the right way. And I think like peer pressure in a good way can be really, really great. And I think that sometimes you need to hang around people who have a higher standard or a higher moral level than you or equal with you. So that was fun. Did you hear that? And recently I found myself actually looking at this ring and being like, what does this actually mean to me? Like purity is more than just like not having sex, and that's all I had labeled this ring as. It was kind of like a little trophy, like I'm still a virgin, like ooh, like I blah blah blah. But the thing is like purity goes beyond just like not having sex. It goes with like what you say, what you think, what you wear, you know, how you treat people. And I think that I actually like felt like the Lord just kind of like challenged me and be like, hey, like what does this actually mean to you, like this ring on your finger? And I guess kind of the analogy I can give you guys is like you have to make your purity your own. I knew that I grew up in church my whole life, so basically we just got it hammered into us like, don't have sex before you're married, don't have sex before you're married, don't have sex before you're married. So I was just like, I don't have sex before I'm married because I have a purity ring. That's great, but it's got to be a little deeper than that, because if that's all you're like banking, you're like, if that's what you're like setting your like morals on, that's very easily shaken, because it has nothing to do with like you personally and you taking time to actually sit down and like invest in like what you want this ring to mean to you. And the way I can kind of describe it is that like you know, like when you grow up Christian, this wasn't my experience, but I know a lot of people who grew up Christian, their parents like made them go to church every week, so their parents like dragged them along to church every week and blah blah blah. And when you turn like 18 and you have your own car, you have your own transportation, like your parents don't drag you to church. It's kind of up to you to make your faith your own. Like you get to make a decision and be like, I'm gonna go to church or I'm not gonna go to church or whatever. So I feel like kind of the same thing with purity. Like the church was kind of like, I'd always just like thought about purity in a sense that like the church just says like don't do this, don't do this, but I actually never really sat down to think about like why don't I do this, like what's the why behind the no. And it was actually really challenging, because I was like, I actually kind of like was a little shook and like disappointed in myself, because I was like, I actually don't have a huge like why behind it, just besides the fact that like I've just grown up it like being pounded in my head like don't have sex before you're married. So I like actually took it off and I sat down and I was just like, what is purity to me? Like what does that actually mean to me? What does that look like to me? And also just like solidifying down like your whys for not doing something. Like obviously the Bible says like having sex before marriage is a sin, so that's a big enough why, I know that, but like you personally have to like think about that and ponder it and like figure out why you're not going to do it. And it has to be like personal. That's the thing that I've learned, is like purity has to be personal, and it has to have like a very strong like why behind it. I think like it's really important that you sit down with the Lord and just talk about like your why behind your purity. Yeah, I kind of just had like a little like conviction moment, to be honest, where I was like, like, what does this actually mean to me? Like, yeah, it's my ring, but like you find yourself in like situations where you could violate your purity ring really easily, and you're just like, in that moment, like what actually like matters to you? Like what is like this ring like founded on? Like, is it just because people have told you to not have sex your whole life, or is it because like you have a list of like why I'm not doing this, why I'm choosing to honor God, like why I'm choosing to like not do this? Woo. Yes, that kind of just all came out. I realized that like my reasons behind this ring weren't that strong and weren't that personal, and honestly weren't that convincing, which is honestly pretty scary, because I was like, okay, like this is a huge red flag. Like I need to actually take this very seriously and sit down and be like, Jesus, like what does purity like look like to you? What does purity look like for me in my life? And what does this ring actually mean to me besides like just not having sex before marriage? But I hope that was helpful to you guys. I know a lot of girls have purity rings and I think they're awesome. But I would encourage you to just like actually sit down and be like, what does this mean to me? Like, what does purity mean to me in my heart? Not just like what the church has told me my whole life.